Carly, without scaring everyone, where do you think AI is going over the next 5 to 7 years?
So try and get the most out of your team by moving them back into the positions that you originally hired them for.
Someone told me that old school SEO blogs are actually not what AI is looking for and can be detrimental, so people are deleting them.
I wouldn't go deleting it, it's still going to be relevant, but if you're putting out blog content today, you need...
If someone's listening to this and they're not optimized to use AI, what's the first thing they should be thinking about?
So there's a 3-step process that I take my clients through. The first one is... The second thing is... And then, only then, we then look... I got really obsessed with how can I still do everything that I want to do? How can I still create everything I want to and serve all the people I want to while leveraging my time in the smartest way? And that was really the biggest shift, to be honest, of thinking, let's get smart now about the time that I've got.
Carly, you didn't come from tech. You were on stage dancing, performing, and then it all fell apart. Can you take us back to that moment, the split leap, the ambulance, the loss of the dance career?
Yeah, so it's funny, kind of sitting here now, it feels like another lifetime. Whenever I talk about it, it really feels like a different person completely. But I was, so a professional dancer, I went to an audition. In the dancing world, you're doing auditions all the time. You do 12 and get one, or you'd be going for hundreds of auditions. And I went to the audition, did a split leap, went over on my ankle, tore my ligament. And then instantly my career was done. I got carried out on a stretcher. The audition carried on, so everyone was like da 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 da, and I was like bye, getting carried out on a stretcher like zero. They go really did not care that I was gone, completely irreplaceable, and so that was the end. And then I remember being in the ambulance, and my dad called me, and he was like, "I think this is a sign. I think you're meant to do something else." Love that woo woo for my dad, and I did. And so I started working for Apple, but I really struggled with who I was then. When people would say, "What do you do?" And I'd be like, "Oh, I'm in Wicked," or I'm in We Will Rock You. And that was a really cool, just role to play. And when I lost that, I really lost who I was and really couldn't figure it out. Started working for Apple, ended up being a business specialist and learning a bit about tech. I kind of learned a lot then about how to simplify technical stuff and talk about it in normal terms. And then started a network marketing business, just dabbling around, wanted a little side hustle, figured out I was actually quite good at it, and then ended up building a business we were turning over about 250k a month at the time, built this big organisation. And then the pandemic hit, whole thing crumbled. That was the end of that. And just kind of rebuilt it. There was a whole period of time before that where I did this bodybuilding competition. It was a really important lesson. You wouldn't think it now because there is zero protein going in this body at the moment. It's all crisps and biscuits. But I did a bodybuilding competition, and I wanted to see that if I put my mind to something and if I stuck to it, how that would impact me. And so I kind of gone from not working out ever, eating really badly, neglecting my body. After dancing, I just kind of let everything go. And then I decided to do this bodybuilding competition to really challenge myself. And then 9 months after training 2 days a day, 2 times a day, 8 days a week, 7 days a week, did this bodybuilding competition. And it just really showed me that if I say I'm going to do something, I can do it. And that time has really kind of set the tone for the rest of my business now, because then when my network marketing business crumbled, I decided that I wanted to do something else. I decided that I wanted to start Made for More AI, and it was going to be this big business and I was going to go again. And I just kind of didn't have that feeling of self-doubt that I'd had for so many years before. Dancing really puts a deep-rooted layer of self-doubt in you. And it really, taught me that if you say you're going to do something, do it, stick to your promises, and that's where your kind of self-belief comes from. So it's kind of roundabout way of telling you that, but it was a really powerful time really that kind of got me to where I am now.
But it's super inspiring, right? Because I think so many people, whether you've left a career or you've done something like dancing or sport or whatever it might be, you do give up an identity at some point, right? And you just start to lose it a little bit. You've spoken before in the past about you became, you partied more, and you were drinking more and eating, whatever. You sort of lost yourself, and you were just finding different things to try and fill your time with.
Yeah.
And so I'm interested in the exact moment or something that might have happened that snapped you out of that. And I know you said the bodybuilding competition, but something must have pushed you towards doing that, or there must have been some sort of conception in your mind that went, I'm going to do this now.
Yeah, it's because I had that thing every Monday where I was like, right, this is it. I'm going to do it. This is how I'm going to sort myself out. I'm going to stop being like that. I'm really going to get back on track, and I'm going to do it. And every Monday I would set that intention. And then 2 days later, I was back into my old ways. And I realised this pattern that the more I was doing that, the deeper, like the lower my self-worth was getting, because I just did not believe a word that I was telling myself. So every time I was saying, right, this is it, that voice in my head was getting louder saying, bullshit. No, it's not. You're not going to do it because you said you were going to do this last week and you didn't do it last week. You said you were going to do it the week before and you're in a worse position now. And I was thinking, I'm just going to get in this rut where I really don't believe anything I'm going to tell myself. And actually the thoughts in my head were getting louder. I remember being I've never really shared this. I remember being in a dressing room before, and I was getting dressed and putting these clothes on, and I was fumbling and I was like wobbling a little bit. And the voice in my head was like, God, Carly, you're so pathetic. You can't even stand up properly. And I'd never really heard how vile the chat was. And I just remember really hearing it. I was like, that's awful. Why are you talking to yourself like that? So kind of there is another moment as well, which was a real slap in the face. My friend sent me this meme, and it was a picture of a fat naked frog eating a bowl of chips.
Okay.
And she was like, babe, this is so you. Oh my God, this is so funny. I saw this and thought of you straight away. And I was like, that cannot be what people think of. That cannot be that they look at a picture of a fat naked frog eating some chips and they're like, that's so Carly. That's Carly behaviour. So that was a real shift. But just that kind of, you just get to the point where you're like, I can't keep talking about doing something different. I have to do something different. And it's actually not the chat that shifts you out of these bad habits. It's the action. And I say this all the time to people that I've coached. You know, they overthink all this stuff and they're saying, I've studied this and I've studied this. And I'm like, just move, take an action, do something different, do something. It doesn't even have to be this huge, bold thing like booking a bodybuilding competition, but do something different and then stack the different actions, stack the bolder actions, and then eventually you get to a point where you're like, wow, I can't believe I'm doing this. But it's really the action that makes that shift. You can talk yourself into change all night long, but it's not going to work.
How important do you think it was that you did choose a bodybuilding competition, though? Because there's lots of things you could have chosen which would have needed consistency, but a competition at the end means you're going to have to get on stage and people are going to judge you, which means there's a lot of pressure. So how important do you think that was to pick instead of something else?
It was so important that I think the accountability of knowing that it was twofold. It was the accountability of knowing that I had to get on stage and I'd invited my friends and my family to come to it. But also I made the decision to put it on my Instagram and share that at the beginning, which again is a big shift because I was so fed up of saying, I'm doing my diet, I'm at the gym, and then no posts for 2 more months. So I made an intentional decision of saying, right, this is what I'm going to do. And I had to follow through with it then, because then people were asking, they're saying, how's your thing going? And, you know, how's that going? And it did get to the point where I just couldn't not. You know, I became so obsessed with it. It was a wild time. I wouldn't recommend it.
No,
to be honest. It's very intense. But I think actually I was in such a rut that I needed something extreme to snap me out of it.
Exactly. So that identity almost, you went from that Carly to a different Carly and then back again.
Yeah.
Effectively. I think it's really interesting. It's such a good journey to tell people about, because so many people will feel like they're in that rut right now. They're listening and going, I'm not the same person as I used to be. I have let myself go in a number of ways, whether it's my fault or not. How did AI come into this journey? Obviously, you went to Apple and you started learning about tech, and obviously the network marketing business started to fail because of COVID. Where did your love or your passion or your understanding of AI start to build?
I think looking back on it now, the seed was planted when I got injured and I realised that my entire livelihood was based around my body and me. And if I couldn't do what I was good at, there was nothing. There was no career. It was a really vulnerable place that I put myself in. So the seed was planted then because I realised I don't want to build a career around something that I don't have leverage from. If I remove myself from it, this still has to run, because that's life, isn't it? I've got 2 kids, so much stuff goes on, and you can't always be, directly in the middle of your business. So the AI thing came around because after my network marketing business, I started really diving into the world of marketing, so funnels and emails, and realised, wow, I'm full nerd. This really gets me going, this kind of stuff. I thought I was quite cool, but actually zero cool, 90% nerd. And started diving into that, started creating digital products, and I kind of took the skills, the knowledge that I'd learned in network marketing and turned it into a product, and then sold that product. And then that product was selling when I wasn't there. And it was really like, whoa, this is a whole new way of doing things, and I like this a lot. So was selling loads of courses and digital products, and then started teaching other people how to do it as well, because I could see so many people that had a really unique skill, and I wanted to teach them how to package that up and sell it. So I would be teaching them how to do it, and I had a brilliant course and a brilliant program, and everyone was so like, yes, I'm ready to go. But then everyone got stuck at the tech. So people would be like, I've been trying to build my lead magnet for like 9 months now, and I can't get past it. And I realised that what comes naturally to me in terms of the tech stuff really does not. Tech is a big block for a lot of people. And I just found it really sad that there was so many people with these gifts to give, but the tech was holding them back, and it was stopping them getting it out into the world. So I decided to, I came across Go High Level and learned that they've got this thing called a snapshot, where you can basically take an entire business that you've built and drop it into someone else's account. And I was like, I could just give my students all my funnels, all my templates, all my emails, everything, and they could just go and do it. And that's going to speed up their results. And I'm always so focused on like, how can I get the quickest and best results for my students? So then I started doing that. And then as I kind of got more into Go High Level and learning about all these things, my number one pillar is always time leverage. As I said, I've got a 5-year-old, I've got a 4-year-old, super busy, life is chaotic. But when I had my kids, my ambition 10x'd. So I didn't slow down, but my time reduced massively. So I kind of have been in this real pull thing where I'm like, my drive is bigger than ever. My time is just dissipating before my very eyes. So I got really obsessed with how can I still do everything that I want to do? How can I still create, everything I want to and serve all the people I want to while leveraging my time in the smartest way? And that was really the biggest shift, to be honest, of thinking, right, let's get smart now about the time that I've got. Yeah.
I mean, you said there that the things that you're finding easy, other people just find difficult, which is so interesting in so many entrepreneurs, because they normally say, we had a guy on yesterday who's a photographer, and he was like, well, it's really easy to take pictures. I'll just do it right now. And we were saying it's not easy.
Yeah.
It's just easy to you in the same way that you're picking up things that other people won't. And in preparation for this, me and the team have watched some of your keynotes. And one of the ones I really liked was when you were talking about how your identity really sets you up for failure if you get it wrong. So, for example, I'm not techie means that you're going to really struggle with tech, not because you're not techie, but because you've said it out loud and now you believe it. So I'm interested to hear your opinion on how people hold themselves back by almost just using negative self-talk, but assigning themselves an identity that might make them think something that's not true.
Of course, yeah. So people say these things all the time. I think people often realise the weight of the words that they say, especially the words that they say repeatedly. And this was something that I identified back in my day when I was, really in a rut. I kept saying, when friends would say like, how's your diet going? Or how's your fitness thing going? I'd be like, I've sacked it off. I'm not doing it anymore, blah, blah, blah. And I'd say, classic Carly behaviour. That's just what I do though. I start things and I don't finish them. And I would say that all the time. Yeah, but I just start things and I don't finish them. And that just manifested into me starting things and never finishing them. And that is no way to build success. Like, you cannot just keep saying you've got to do something and not doing it. And I have a quote in my bedroom actually that says, you are what you do, not what you say you'll do. I love that quote so much because it really reminds me of that time and how it does not matter what you keep saying, but the words that you say repeatedly really start to become aware of those flippant jokes that you make. It's normally a cover up, right? So in that time, I was so insecure with myself and feeling so low that I would make these jokes all the time about myself. I was like, I'll take the piss out of myself because then you won't take the piss out of me, and then we're all okay. So the jokes about myself got bigger and bigger, and again that started to become my identity, and that started to become actually a really big, heavy label that I'd put on myself that was holding me back. And it's things like, I'm just not techie. It's such a flip away comment. So many people will say, I'm a tech dinosaur, or I'm a technophobe, and like, yeah, cool. But that's not serving you today. It's really not serving you. And it does not matter whether you think you are a tech dinosaur or whether you think you're not techie, because we have so many resources today that can enable you to get a little bit better. And I think actually it's a mentality shift that people have to have. Yeah. I'm not saying to you that you are going to go and create an AI app and launch it. I'm not saying that you need to go from there to there, but having the mentality and just shutting it off and saying, but I'm just not techie, it's not for me, you're holding yourself back with that label. So the label, the shift that needs to happen mentally is, this doesn't come easily to me, but it's something I'm really working on. And the beautiful thing about where we are today is there are so many resources. You could sit on YouTube, you could buy a course, you could learn from whoever and start to get a little bit better every day. And that's really what I want to try and, my whole focus with everything I do is helping people to just stack the skills a little bit.
Yeah.
Not go from there to there, but just stack a little bit.
Yeah. Why do you think so many entrepreneurs shy away from tech? You know, I feel like nowadays the big thing that's going on is people are saying, like, how are you using AI in your business? And they'll go, well, we use it everywhere. And in reality, they don't. But they're just so terrified of someone thinking they're not using tech, and they're also not using it at all themselves anyway. Why do you think that is? Why are we so scared of tech and missing out and all sorts?
I think tech a few years ago was very different to tech today. Tech a few years ago, you know, if you opened up Salesforce and logged in, you'd be like, what on earth is this? Even me, as someone who does get tech, I'll open up that, and that is a headache. And the things that were considered technical before, yeah, they were really technical. But now tech is like, you know, AI that we're talking about. It's prompting, it's language. We're not talking about the language of coding. This is our everyday language. So now you can use the genuine way that you speak every day to use this tech, and that's why it's different. So I think people have kind of still got it in their heads that you have to be very technically minded to understand tech today, but actually you don't. You need to know how to speak to the tech in your own language, and that's what's very, very different.
Do you think it's more simple than a lot of people think as well? Because, you know, I see like my parents or people around us who maybe haven't grown up with tech, and they're trying to use this thing called Chat GPT, and they're making such a big palaver of it, and it's actually so simple. Do you think there's something in that where they don't want to lean into it as well? They just don't want to be the people that do tech. They must feel like other people should be doing tech for them. And we're using this word, quote unquote, tech so much, but it means like a plethora of things. Yeah. But there must be something in that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think the boomer generation generally are the most resistant to it because they're just like, this is a whole new thing to get my head around, and I can't even get my head around. I do need to give credit to my mum though. My mum, I was showing her how to do Chat GPT, and I was like, Mum, the other day I didn't know how to, I was trying to cook dinner and there was nothing in my cupboards and I didn't know what to cook. I'm not one of those women that can just whip up a stew or a casserole just from like 4 ingredients. So anyway, so I looked in the cupboard and I went to Chat GPT and I said, Mum, I said, Chat GPT, I've got some chicken, I've got some peppers, I've got some stock, and I've got some mustard or something. What could I do? And ChatGPT gave me this whole thing up. So I was telling my mum about it, and that was the first entry point into it. And she was like, well, that's cool. I like that. And then she just started playing around with it. And this is what I really encourage a lot of people to do. Don't make it a big deal. Where you would go to Google and ask a question, go to ChatGPT and see where that runs. If you've got a question that you would call up someone and ask them, just ask ChatGPT and see where that goes. Yeah. Because ChatGPT will actually guide you down the path to where you need to get to. It will normally say, do you want me to now put this into a recipe book for you or whatever? It's gonna guide you to where you need to go. But I think there is definitely resistance from the, I would say definitely from the older generation. But there are people like my mum that are just loving it. They're like, what, where was this before? And it's changing her life so much. And she's super techie. She's not super techie, but she's building custom GPT. Yeah. She's like, oh, no way. I've just built this, and I've just built this agent to help me with this. Yeah. And I'm like, yes, mum. But I think the shift has to be in, do you know what it is? I think people are so scared to get it wrong, but you can't really get it wrong. People are like, well, if I'm going to start something, I need to know how to use that thing first before I really get into it. And I think especially with Chat GPT, it's the most perfect place to start. You can't get it wrong. You can't say the wrong thing. You can't ask the wrong thing. It's not going to laugh at you. Just start playing around and get comfortable with getting messy with it, because it is going to guide you. And I actually use Chat GPT to teach me a lot of stuff as well. So although I'm asking it questions and getting it to help me, I'm also saying, why did you say it like that? Or why did you tell me to do it in that way? And I'm kind of using it as my mentor now as well. I
think it's actually a really good point that you've brought up there, which is relevance. I think people don't understand how to use it yet. So maybe I'm referring to the boomer generation. They just don't see how it would work in their day-to-day life. Stefan, who you've just met outside, who's got a great company called Pith and Stem, he might still be listening. Him and his wife are using this app, which has AI built in, and it basically, on Instagram or TikTok, when you find a recipe, you're watching a video, and underneath it might have the recipe. This app takes that recipe and puts it using AI into this other app, which then creates a menu, and it tells you exactly what to order. You can upscale or downscale based on how many people you're cooking for. And it's such a good use case of AI. It is AI, but it's in a way that's like, okay, this is going to help you take influencer recipes and make them really accessible, and it helps you order and whatnot. Yeah. So it's the kind of thing that I'm going to take and show like my mum and dad, because I know they'll be like, oh, that's amazing AI. Whereas if I show them how AI answers the phone calls for our business, they are not interested at all. It's not relevant. So I think that point is really, really interesting.
This is a really interesting use case. So I was talking to someone that was saying, she has like older children. And she was saying, I just don't know what's going on at the minute. I can't speak to my son. I'm trying to tell him, how proud I am of him and how well he's doing, blah, blah. And he just doesn't respond to my messages ever, just doesn't respond. And we were playing around and talking about it. And she went into ChatGPT and described him as a person, said, this is what he's like. This is what he loves. This is, just described him kind of like to a T really. And then said, this is the message that I really want to get across to him. How can I do it in a way where he actually hears it and I get something from him? It came back, it gave loads of examples, explained why this works, which again is teaching her better. So she doesn't have to keep going to ChatGPT and saying, how can I ask my son if he's around today? So it came back with loads of answers. She put this message in, pretty much said the same as what she said before, but in this slightly different way, slightly different tone. He came straight back within 5 seconds and was like, I love you too, Mum. Beautiful message. And she was like, what the hell? So people are thinking of ChatGPT and AI as like this awful thing that's going to take over the world, and people are also thinking that it's going to make us dumber. And I really don't believe that is right. I think our brains are going to work in a different way. Like when I think now, I'm not thinking what's the answer to that. I'm thinking, how do I prompt that to get the answer that I need? So my brain is still moving. It was moving in a very different way. And I think there is beautiful, beautiful things to come out of using this. And I think the more people realise these use cases, they get excited about using it. And we just need to see more examples of stuff like that.
Interestingly, in the same way that you're talking about how you're prompting your brain to think about how you'd prompt AI, I'm in this phase at the minute where I'm thinking a lot about how to take the information out of AI and then use it, because I've got this phrase that I'm using called secondhand thinkers. And there's nothing more frustrating to me at the minute when someone from the team comes to me and they've done something with AI and then they basically just say what AI has said. Yeah. And as soon as you ask them a question, they haven't got the depth of knowledge. They're just, I'm just repeating what it's just said. And I think that secondhand thinking is where there's a danger zone, where we're not actually taking what AI is giving us and putting our own thought into it or changing it. We're just copy and pasting it effectively. And I think that's where there's some danger, and that's where people are going to be eradicated, not from our company, hopefully, but in other companies if they're not able to then use AI in a specific way.
100%. You just have to keep going back. You have to think of this not as just there's this thing and I'm going to ask a question, it's going to spit something out. You have to think of this as like a collaborative process where it's like, you're going to learn from me because I'm going to give the information to you, but I'm also going to learn from you. I've got a Dan Martell custom GPT that I trained, because when I went on holiday, I don't know about you, but when I go on holiday, my brain lights up and I'm like, let's just go through all the ideas that you've ever had in your life. And I went away recently and all these ideas started coming to me and I just couldn't figure out. It was so noisy. So I went back to my room, I created a custom GPT, trained it on Dan Martell because I was reading his book, Buy Back Your Time, and went in and I trained it on that. And he coached me, AI Dan, coached me through this decision making of like how to get to, you know, what is a good idea and what's not. And I think that's, if you use AI like that and you use it as this collaborative experience where you're going back and forth, and challenge AI as well. Don't just take it and be like, thank you. Go back and say, I'm not quite sure about that one. Sometimes I get aggressive and there are capital letters. I mean, Chat GPT 5 is going rogue at the minute and I'm like, no, that's not right. But go back and challenge it and have it as this collaborative experience, as if you've just hired this consultant or if you just hired this Michelin star chef or whatever it is that you're using it for. That's the mentality shift again that I think we need to have, where it needs to be collaborative.
The way I've been using it is I've set up projects in ChatGPT specifically, and I've trained it on stuff that I'm already doing. So I've got one that's like an investment advisor, one that's like a nutritionist, one that's a business advisor, but I've called them specific names, and then I've got a meeting in my calendar, maybe fortnightly or monthly. So I literally sit there in my meeting for 45 minutes and I chat to it. So I'll say, like, let's start our meeting. And it knows exactly what to run through. It will talk through whatever we're talking about. But that to me has humanized it. And then I'm implementing things more effectively rather than just getting the app up and going, what do you think about this? Yeah. Because then it's like flippant, isn't it? You're not you're not doing the right thing. So you treat it as a real human or a real like member of the team. The way that I've been using it, I think it's just, I seem to get more out of it. Yeah. Because it's such a buzzword, right? AI is becoming such a buzzword. People are using it in such different ways. So I'm interested to hear from you. If someone's listening to this and they're a founder, they've got a business, they're not optimized to use AI, what's the first thing they should be thinking about?
So there's a 3-step process that I take my clients through. Normally, my clients will come to me and we do like an audit process for them. So we dive into their business, pull it all apart, see all the processes, all the tech and everything, and then we give them a report and say this is where you can implement it. But there's always a 3-step process we go through. The first one is simplify. There's a real danger at the moment of people just adding in all these AI tools because they're like, that's going to save me time, that's going to save me time, let me add that in. But when you first of all add more into a broken system, you're just amplifying the chaos of it. But also, more doesn't mean more. So the first thing that we do is we simplify everything. I get them to list all the subscriptions that they've got, all the tech that they're using. Then I say, now go into your banking app and tell me the 20 others that you forgot about. So list them all down. We see where they're crossing over. We see where, you know, things are contradicting other ones, and we try and get them down to as fewer platforms as possible, as fewer tools as possible. Because if you are trying to get 9 tools to talk to each other, inevitably one of them is going to break at one point, and then your entire process is broken. And so instead of just working the system, you're spending your time, your team's spending their time troubleshooting the system. You're like, what happened there and what happened there? So what we want to do is have as fewer steps between the beginning to an end of a process as possible. And the more you can do on one platform, the better. So simplify the tech. The second thing is automate. Automation intelligence, I believe, needs to come before artificial intelligence, because artificial intelligence is like putting rocket fuel on a fire. It's all going to go up. And if you do that before it's automated, your team is going to be stretched thin. Most people come to me when their team is maxed out anyway. So we really look at, okay, where can we automate processes? Where can we see how we can, again, reduce the number of steps or reduce the number of people that need to touch a process to get from A to B. And then we automate all of that. And then, only then, we then look at amplifying that with AI. And we only look at implementing the AI that is actually going to light that up, not just because it's sexy, not just because it's cool, not just because someone said it's going to reduce your costs by whatever. You know, there are so many tools that you can use, and it doesn't mean that they're all right for you. So getting super smart on what your problem is, what processes are unique to you, what team are super valuable to you and you are underutilizing, those are really important things to look at before you even start throwing some other stuff in there. Normally, I think about, do you remember that show, Kim and Aggie, the cleanup thing? Yeah. I feel like I'm like a digital Kim and Aggie when I go in and I clean it all up. But then we do some cool stuff after that.
It must be quite funny, the amount of tools people are signed up to when you go into businesses now, because you're completely right. In all the entrepreneur group chats I'm in, as soon as someone says, this has saved me money or made me money, everyone signs up and they're like, oh, I've got it. And I guarantee they're not unsubscribing. They're just adding them to the tech stack and it's not
100%.
working.
And you'd be surprised as well how many multi-million dollar or pound businesses are 70% run on spreadsheets.
Oh, yeah.
I really did not know this until I started working with these big companies. I was like, dude,
It's all Excel.
what is this? Why are there so many spreadsheets? And there was one company that I was working with before, and they were doing their huge business, and every single square on that Excel spreadsheet was manually input. And I was like, as your soul died inside of you, what are you doing? So, there's so many things that you can do, even like, data entry and stuff like that. We can be super, super smart with how you do things like that. And the other thing is, another big piece of it that we do is the visibility piece. So because people have got stuff everywhere, their data is everywhere. So trying to see how an entire sales process is converting is really hard because they're signing up here and then they go there and then they go there. So what we actually do a lot of the time is bring in a central dashboard, bring in all of that data, and then you can make really smart data-driven decisions. You're not just guessing.
Yeah, which is a massive part of it, right? I want to ask you about where AI is heading, but I actually want to drive you towards the area that I'm most interested in, which is SEO. Because it feels like SEO is the place that just seems to be at the forefront of the AI chat in a lot of entrepreneurial groups, because SEO people spend a lot of money on. But it feels like now Google's SEO rankings, or Google in general, the searches are down massively.
Yeah.
And so people are looking at how do we get to the top of the SEO rankings in all these LLMs, in Claude, in Perplexity, whatever it might be. What is your take on where SEO is going over the next 5 to 10 years? Before we dive into this episode, I want to take a second to speak about our sponsor, Pith and Stem, who we are thrilled to have on this journey with us. As someone who is always looking for ways to improve my healthy hustle, Pith and Stem's drop top desk stood out to me as the best full work from home solution on the market. The world of work from home is changing, and a laptop or screen perched on your lap or dining room table isn't enough anymore. It's imperative that we have a solution at home that matches our productivity station that we can have in our office. But of course, homes weren't made to be worked in, and not all of us want a dedicated study. That's why I'm so happy that Pith and Stem created this perfect solution. They designed this desk with both the needs of the professional and their home in mind. It's perfect because it allows me to have a full productivity station that suits my needs and helps me get the most out of every minute that I spend at it, not only so I work comfortably, but that I actually enjoy it. And the best thing about Drop Top, I can close and lock it at the end of the day to keep work and home separate. And it looks awesome on the wall. You can get your Drop Top desk anywhere in the world from pithandstem.com, or just Google Drop Top and you'll find it pretty quickly.
Pause. Sorry, it's me, Freddie, interrupting myself. I just want to point out how well this guest is doing at building trust with you, the audience. They're adding value, they're giving inspiration, and they're hopefully educating you on a few different areas. You see, we're in a trust recession, and becoming a podcast guest is literally the best way to continue to build trust while so many are struggling. We've built a community of incredible entrepreneurs, all becoming the top most in-demand podcast guests in the world. And if you click some of our links below, not only have we got templates to help you become a top guest, we've also got a community that you can join to get yourself to where you want to be. Now back to the episode. Thank you so much for listening and watching these episodes. It feels like you're really part of the journey with us. And can I ask you one favor to help us grow even further? You may have noticed that we've been getting some amazing guests on. We've got more listeners than ever. But you can help us continue to give value to you by clicking that subscribe or follow button below. It helps us to show everyone else how well we're doing, and therefore give you more value by getting bigger guests and take the podcast on the road. It takes you 2 seconds and it's completely free, and it helps us more than you know. Thank you.
So Neil Patel actually talks about this in a great way. He says that SEO now stands for Search Everywhere Optimization. So we are now not just going to Google and looking for our answers. Depending on what generation you're in, you're looking at different platforms. Some people are going to TikTok for their answers. Some people are going to YouTube for their answers. I'm a YouTube girl. And obviously that plays a big part in where we need to put out our information. But in terms of the LLMs, it is so powerful. It's such a huge opportunity if you really dial in your focus now on saying, I'm going to create content and put stuff out there that's going to get me recommended by Chat GPT and Claude and things like that. You are way ahead of the curve and it's powerful. I got on a discovery call a couple of months ago, and I said, "Oh, how did you hear about me? I've not seen you in any of my stuff." And he said, "Oh, I asked Chat GPT who the best AI and automation agency were in the UK, and they said you." And I was like, "Yes." And then the BBC recently contacted me as well, and they said, "We're looking for an expert on one of our shows, an AI expert. We've come across you," and that came from Chat GPT as well. So the opportunities that come from that are so powerful, and there's things that you can do. Should I go through the ways that you can get recommended? So the main thing that ChatGPT loves, when I say ChatGPT, I mean all of them, but I'll just use ChatGPT as a general. The things that they love are experts. So thought leadership content. They don't care that your company is the blah, blah, blah. They really care about you, the founder. So if you're starting to put yourself out there and share genuine thought leadership content, that's really going to start getting you ranked, because you have to think, how are people asking these questions? So we would normally go on ChatGPT and on Google, and we'd be typing in things that would flag keywords. Now someone is going on to ChatGPT and saying, how can I do this without doing this? Or what would I do if I needed this? And so you need to put content out which is in the same language that they are asking the question. Very natural, very conversational, not complicated, very clear, and that thought leadership content that's going to start positioning you as an expert. So really the kind of company brands out there, I personally, if I was running a big company brand, I would be encouraging all of my employees. There's actually a study on this that's been super powerful, but I would be encouraging all of my employees to build a personal brand, obviously under the umbrella of that company, but really start promoting themselves as experts within the company, because that's going to drive a lot of traffic.
Someone told me that old school SEO blogs are actually not what AI is looking for and can be detrimental.
Yeah.
So people are deleting them.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, there is always going to be a lag time. So I personally wouldn't delete it. Sure. You're still going to have a lot of people that are using Google. It's like, I know someone that's only just got on Instagram, and I'm like, what are you doing? Where have you been? That is a peaceful life you have been living. But there is going to be a lag time where not everyone has got on the ship yet.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't go deleting it. It's still going to be relevant. But if you're putting out blog content today, you need to shift the way that you're writing it. It's now has to be very conversational, very natural language, very clear. It really doesn't like fancy schmancy words. It wants a big, clear headline, bullet points. You might notice that AI always writes in bullet points, and that's because that's its language. So look at the input it's giving you and saying, okay, this is what it likes. This is how it likes to search. So bullet points, clear headlines, that's all going to help you get noticed. Review places, so like Trustpilot. I always want to say TripAdvisor.
So it can still see backlinks.
You can still see backlinks, yep. So that's all fine. So you still definitely want to make sure that all your backlinks are there, and that's it. You've got a really solid funnel on the back end. Yeah. But in terms of the actual content that you're putting out, don't think of this as, I need to showcase my skills as an incredible writer. To be honest, the best blogs would probably be you voice noting into a WhatsApp, transcribing that, and then turning that into a blog post, because it's the most natural language and it's how people are asking questions now.
Can it tell if it's been written by AI? So like if ChatGPT is looking at a blog by Carly Meyers, would it then say, that's written by AI, I won't validate that? So
there are certain things now where ChatGPT does have an imprint. It's like a digital, invisible imprint. We don't see it, apart from the M dashes. We see the M dashes, of course, but we don't see it to the eye. But there are certain spacing things that we can't see, but they are there. So if you run that through a particular tool that is trying to detect AI content, it would pick it up because of the spacing. There is a prompt. I've got it on my YouTube in one of the resources. There is a prompt that you can put in before. So I put this in before all my custom GPTs, and it's basically saying remove all of these things. It's a really long, boring one, but it will remove all the things that would make it detectable by AI. But I mean, I would go in and change stuff anyway, to be honest. Use AI as your starting point, and then go and put in your personal flair. I wouldn't, again, just copy and paste like we said before. But yeah, so blog content is really good in the most natural form. Really clear headlines and bullet points, that's really important. PR articles, really, really important. So there is actually another cool tool. Can I share random tools on here?
It's the next question I'm going to ask you.
Oh, good. Okay, cool. So there's a tool actually called Pressmaster, which is really good. And you can go on there and it will take the trending topics that are happening in the world around your niche. It will then turn that into an article, and with a click of a button, you can actually get that published in over 300 publications. So things like Business Insider, Apple News, Yahoo News, things like that. And that's really going to help with I call it your AI imprint. It's kind of imprinting yourself in the LLMs. So that's really going to help with stuff like that. So PR, any kind of credibility stuff. YouTube is actually really good for that. Sure. So you're obviously on the YouTube train, which is fab, but YouTube is going to be really good with that. And then reviews, Reddit is huge for AI. I actually only have started using Reddit since I got into the world of AI for research purposes mainly. There's so many cool things you can do. I'm going to go off, but I get excited about this one because it's a real good tip. There's a tool called Appify. And Appify will basically scrape stuff. So it will scrape YouTube channels, it will scrape Reddit, it will scrape Facebook comments, Facebook groups, whatever. So it will scrape all of the content on it. And you could use Appify to scrape Reddit, go into Reddit and put in the niche that you're working in. It's going to have so many people asking genuine questions. So the questions that you're trying to answer in your blogs, all of those questions are being asked on Reddit. So if you're ever wondering, what do I write something about? Just go and write a blog about every single question that's being asked there. And then use that as your inspiration and then put that into your Chat GPTs or whatever.
And then put it back on Reddit.
Yeah, then put it back on Reddit.
Whenever I use Perplexity, when I'm Googling stuff, like I use Perplexity instead, and the reference is almost always Reddit.
Always Reddit.
Yeah. It seems to really like it.
Yeah, especially for reviews as well. Like if you're running a coaching program or any business, to be honest, whenever I'm reviewing something and I say, have you got any, what's your advice on this? I'm thinking of joining this program. I'm thinking of working with this coach. What's your take on it? It will always come back and say, well, I would have a little think about this because there are some reviews on Reddit about this, and it will come back and Dave 91435 is going, don't do that because I didn't make money. But yeah, it's just really good to get the whole scope of things. Reddit is a powerful tool.
Absolutely. Carly, without scaring everyone, where do you think AI is going over the next 5 to 7 years?
So I can't tell you where it's going in 5 to 7 years. I don't think anyone can tell you where it's going, to be honest with you, because the shift that we've seen even in the last 6 months has been huge. Okay. So I would never say where it's going in 5 to 7 years. I do think where it's going depends on how you look at it right now. If you are set and locked in on the mindset that AI is taking over the world and this is a terrible thing, you are going to have a really tough life. AI is going to take over your world and it is going to be really tough for you. If you lock into the mindset right now of, okay, this is the way the world's going, I can't really do anything about this, so I need to just get on and figure this out. If you have that mentality, then AI is going to be a brilliant thing for you. If you take the mentality of, AI is coming for my job, so I'm going to upskill myself in the tools that are a threat to my job, and I'm going to be the master of that tool, you're going to be absolutely fine. And I think it is really that kind of how you're looking at it. I think AI is going to be the most incredible thing for so many people. We're already seeing 18-year-olds that are becoming multimillionaires by tools that they created in their bedroom. I was creating something on Lovable the other day, which is like a vibe coding app. Have you played around with Lovable? Yeah. It's so cool, isn't it? And I was thinking about it, and it was for like this construction app. We're getting our house done at the moment.
Okay.
That's where that came from. I don't have an underlying passion for construction. But we've been trying to find a builder and it's taking forever to get quotes. And I was thinking there must be an app that allows someone to just, take a photo of something and then it pops up. Telling everyone my app idea now. Don't take it. So then I started playing around and the telly was on and I was playing around with it and I came up with this app. And this is, an incredible opportunity for anyone that's kind of wants to have an idea and bring it to fruition. AI is brilliant for those people. But I think there's going to be a real big shift. I work with a lot of big companies. I speak to other enterprise companies, and then I work with smaller, solo entrepreneurs as well. And I think what's actually going to happen is there's going to be a real balancing act now. I don't think these enterprise companies are actually going to own the market in the same way that they did, because these big companies have what I call a digital immune system. And they've got so many people that are pushing back on innovation that in order for them to implement something, it takes a really long time. And they can't be agile enough and move as quick as whoever this is over here, who's just like, I've had an idea, that cool tool's come out, I'm going to do something, boom, let's go. And then I think the middle bracket, the SMBs, these are actually the businesses that I love to work with, because I think they are at a real sliding doors moment. If they get on board and they start implementing AI and really getting their head around this, then they can be doing the same numbers as these enterprise companies without growing their team. If they don't, unfortunately, I think they are going to fall away. So these are the ones that I really love serving the most. But I think AI is incredible. Every day, genuinely, I wake up and I'm like, what a time. Like, what a time we are in right now. This is the most insane time. Not only are the tools available to us, but there are the people giving away free knowledge on YouTube, which will tell you exactly how to do it. Most of these tools I can do for like $97 a month. And I think it's incredible. It's leveling the playing field massively. And I think it's a really exciting time.
I think it is as well. I think it's a really good point that these big companies have got thousands of staff. Of course, the staff are going to be so defensive of how important their role is. We've spoken to a number of people in London this week who are saying, there's no way AI can do my job. And we're like, well, maybe not today, maybe not in 6 months, but in a year, definitely, 100%. And it's that mentality that I think really needs to shift. And I'm interested. Okay, so if let's set the scene. Let's assume people are listening to this podcast. They're founders. They've already got AI in their business. They're an SMB or SME. What should they be doing now in order to leverage AI as much as possible? They're probably not completely optimized, but they know what Chat GPT is. They're using Perplexity. They're using these tools. What's the next step for these guys?
I would definitely be looking at building agents within their business. So building, things that just take time and resource and money. So definitely some kind of admin agent. The data entry thing that I spoke about before, that's archaic. We don't need to be doing that anymore. So building an agent around like your data entry, building an agent around your social media content and putting out that thought leadership content, which is going to start to train the LLMs on you. You can do agents for loads of stuff. We've built agents that will take the transcript of sales calls, put that into the LLM, it gets summarized and then spits that out and then sends it to the salesperson and says, hey, based on the call you just had, here's some advice on how you can do it better. You've just replaced there whatever you would be paying a huge sales team and a sales director for that kind of coaching. An agent like that is going to be super powerful. LinkedIn outreach one, not like a full bot, but something that's just going to help connect you with the ideal people. So I wouldn't be looking at hiring anyone, to be honest. Sorry. I would be saying, how can I get, and I'm not saying fire people either. I'm saying try and get the most out of your team currently by moving them back into the positions that you originally hired them for, which is for their brain and their genius and their communication and the way they connect with clients, and, move them back into the things that they are great at. Automate or use AI to get rid of all the other stuff. So you now have this team which are firing in their zone of genius. Everyone is doing the stuff that lights them up and everyone is doing the stuff that they are great at. So have a look and see where you can shift your team into those roles, and then really look at how you can fill the gaps with agents.
I think I completely agree. We had for the last few years, we've had a head of copywriting. And about 6, maybe 8 months ago now, I said, we need to change your role. So she's become head of AI. Because in reality, you don't need copywriters now. You can tell them exactly how to do it. And she obviously has a lot of skills that she can implement in there. But now she brings us tools every week and she'll sort of present which ones we should use and we'll implement, and then we sort of test and experiment and see if it works or not. And I think that's my small example of how we've taken AI and gone, okay, it's going to replace you, but let's, like you say, step someone back and go, let's see if you can reskill or upskill to then become the boss of AI within our company, which is far more valuable going forward than doing something that needs to actually be done.
100%. And she has a super valuable skill set because she's learned how to use this tool. She's now bringing her own expertise. So she's taking that and 10x that in terms of the output, because she's now putting her human excellence on it as well. And she, as just by having the mentality of, instead of saying, oh no, I want to be a copywriter, I'm going to push against the AI, she's gone, okay, cool, let me upskill. And she's now, massively increased her capacity and her kind of like what she's capable of.
And her value.
And her value, that's the word I was looking for, yeah.
So please don't leave, Christina, okay? What do you think, or do you think there are roles that are safe from AI? Or do you think that's non-existent now?
Well, my partner actually owns a a hair salon, and I think he's pretty safe.
Probably.
To be honest, I think it's real old school labour stuff. Plumbers, electricians, hairdressers, you know. I think the roles that are really safe are the ones that provide an experience, because what people are going to want more than ever is experience. Yeah. They are going to really value that hour when they go into the salon and they get a cup of tea and they talk to someone and they have a good conversation and it's about them. That becomes much more valuable, because everything else is becoming very automated, minimal touch points with people. So yeah, anything that's kind of where you can provide an experience, I think that's going to be absolutely fine, and something really manual like that.
I completely agree. I think there's so many things that probably won't be taken by AI for that exact reason. I genuinely, I'll put money on this. I think that we're going to see the resurgence of the high street. Because you know, we've gone through this phase of everyone shopping online for the last 10 years. But now when you talk to someone about buying clothes or shoes or whatever, they're like, I might just go into town and just touch it.
Yeah.
And I think there's going to be a full resurgence, especially because AI is going to take all the community away from us. I think we're going to want to be back in and see people, especially after the pandemic. And I think it'll become a really nice way of bringing people together.
100%. And definitely in the kind of coaching space and info product space and stuff like that, I see so many people shifting now to building communities, doing meetups in their local place and retreats and things like that. And I think that's where things are going. Experience and touch points now become very valuable.
Exactly. So someone who's listening to this, or someone who's listening and is now thinking of their friend, partner, mum and dad who are so against AI, maybe they think they're too old, they think they're too messy, or they're not techie. What is the thing that you would want to leave them with to try and help them to ride this wave over the next 6 months and beyond?
Yeah, I think the main thing is recognizing that this really is not going anywhere. So you can push back with this as much as you want, but it's gone. Like the ship has left the harbour. We are on the way, and this is happening. So if you really want this to, if you want this to be an enjoyable experience for you, they kind of do need to get onto it. But what I would say is that there is a really simple way of doing this, and as I said before, it's just playing with it. It's just starting, trying. Open up that thing, ask it a question. See that the best question that I can hear from my clients, this is when I'm like, you've got it. You've made that switch and you've got it, is when someone says, I wonder if AI could do this. And I'm like, oh, that's good. Because if they're thinking that way, they're seeing the possibility and they're curious. And curiosity is all you need right now. Be curious and think, I wonder if it could do this, or something that you're doing that's like, oh, this is so boring, or this is frustrating, or there's friction, then you think, I wonder if AI could do this. It's a really powerful question to start asking yourself. And I think if you can just get into that mode of just thinking, well, let me just see if it could. And then the most beautiful thing about it is that you can go to Chat GPT and you can say, can AI do this? You can ask AI about AI, and then it will teach you about AI. So, you know, I think being curious, if you want your family or friends to get involved with it and they're currently resistant, show them something super cool that will impact their life. Don't show them something like you said about voice agents or whatever. Yeah. Show them how they can whip up that recipe by asking a couple of questions, and show the things that are going to make their life easier.
Is it the same advice you would give to a founder who's got a team member who's resistant? Show them something cool, or do you think it needs to be a different approach?
The team member that the founder, it's such a hard one, because I don't actually think you can train out a resistant mindset. So if someone is really pushing back, I mean, if I was hiring someone and they said that they didn't use AI, obviously I'm in AI, but that would be a red flag for me, because I think you don't have a forward-thinking mindset. So personally, that is a little bit of a red flag. But I would say if you really want to help them through this, I would say, right, let's sit down and look at what you do. What are the bits, you know, when you get to the end of the day and you're like, that was a rough day today. Yeah. What did that day look like? Is something that I always ask my founders. And they can ask that same question to their team members and say, right, why don't we try and fix that thing first? Because the most important thing is that you're fixing the problem first. People will come in and they want to fix this bit, but you need to start with the problem. You need to look at the things that aren't working, that are causing frustration, that is causing that friction within your business, and fix that thing first. So go to that person and see if you can make what they do every day a little bit better, and just start small. Stack, stack, stack.
And it is worth saying that you are really championing this notion that AI doesn't need to be scary, right? Like your YouTube has got hours and hours of this free stuff where people can go on there and they can learn. You'll even teach them how to use AI to learn. So they've got this plethora of knowledge. And it literally comes down to, like you said earlier, do you want to implement and execute? Because if you do, you'll win. And if you don't, you're going to be left behind.
Yeah, 100%. I don't think it serves anyone to... Of course, you need to be open-minded. You need to be aware. You need to be realistic of what's going to happen. There are going to be some things that come out of AI that are not going to be good. There's going to be some bad people that get their hands on it and they do some really bad stuff. But there's going to be some beautiful people that get their hands on it and do some beautiful things as well. And personally, for me every day, this may be really selfish, but it doesn't serve me to be thinking any further than how do I make my life better today with AI. And I think, you know, for so many years, I was always set on, in 5 years' time, I want my life to look like this. And that's how I'm going to hit my goals. And I've actually stripped that directly back now to how do I make today my best day? You know what I mean? How do I really, really enjoy today? And that's how I kind of use AI to help me. And then I get more days that I really enjoyed and then more days that I really enjoyed. And then ultimately you're at a time when you're like, life is great. Yeah. And I think that's the kind of mentality. Just don't get too caught up in what's going to happen. No one knows what's going to happen. But if you have that adoption mentality, I think you're always going to be fine.
I love that it's been a conversation really harboured around opportunity and the mindset. Carly, where can people find you online if they like what they've heard?
So you can find me on my YouTube channel, which is just search for Carly Meyers. You'll find me on my Instagram, which is Carly Meyers Life. You'll find me on LinkedIn. A little bit on TikTok. It's not great. Okay. I wouldn't waste your time. But yeah, you can kind of find me everywhere.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for coming in and sharing so much insight on AI.
Yay. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening to that episode. I hope you enjoyed it just as much as I enjoyed speaking to that guest. If you scroll down now, you will find a link to our Healthy Hustle newsletter. There's more than 10,000 people receiving the newsletter every week, and it helps break down how to become a top podcast guest. It will also break down exactly what this guest that you've just listened to did to create such a great episode that you've just listened to. I hope it's helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.